Hi, do you still struggle with rose centers and those convoluted petals on the outside? Well, today I'm going to show you a really simple method. We're not going to do any lifting. We'll get started. We'll draw it first and also create a little background. Instead of lifting, I'm creating a soft background and then just painting in the shadows later. I'm starting with a warm new Gamboge color, adding a cooler quinacridone rose and even a little bit of blue. And then we'll just put it to the side. So let's start with the center. We'll go back to the Kindy spiral and start with the C and then come around again. Now we'll go back to the center to this line here and just swing it around and stop. And then at that point there, swing it around and stop, and you can do another one. Now watch as this unfolds. We could point that little one downwards. We could put a downward stroke there, and all of a sudden we've created this ribbon type of form. Even these little ones could ultimately do the same thing. Now, can you imagine if you just added a little fold over like this and like this, just a little rounding off, you now have the center of the rose. Fattest part of the rose is the corolla area, and that's this part where all the petals live. I'm only going to dot it in like this. I'm going to make two outside convoluted petals. Now watch what happens if we draw a figure eight. If I add a little bit of a fold over to this, so here's the fold, here's the bulge of the rose, and extend this out, we actually have a convoluted petal. It'll show up better when I do this with a marker, but let's put another petal on this side and I'll make the 8 a little bit different. How about like that? This again can be the fold over. This is the bulge, and this one can extend out like that. So we need more petals, of course, and I'm just going to add maybe 2 or 3, see what fits. We know that the petals start at the base. So if I go out from the base, tip, 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 dot, 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 I could make a petal there, and then the next one, and put it there. I could even fit another one in there. But do you see, we now have a rose. I will just use a marker to make it very visible. Coming around, this is the fold over. If you haven't seen and would like to see my video where I explain how petals work and their continuous border, I will link it up here in the corner. So there's one at the back and another one. Now coming to the inside here, we could make that darker in there and come around again. And we have all these little foldovers in the middle from our snail spiral. If you'd like to see the longer version of this video with detailed explanations, come over to Anica's Art School. The link is in the description below. And of course, that one comes down as well. So there's a very easy rose. You can put in more petals if you wanted to. This is like a C curve that you would create with your brush. But look, that little line down there suggests that that's the fold over, and that tells us that it's coming down here. There's tons and tons of possibilities if you just follow the simple process. Now, the next thing that happens is we have something called the receptacle, which is that bulbous thing underneath the flower. And now we need to make some sepals. And sepals are the little leaves that protect the flower. And often you see them twisted. And let's say it goes up a little bit, but then just go back to the base. And what happens out of this shape here? I can just modify it a little bit by making it pointier, maybe even a bit thicker there. But this is one continuous border of the sepal. Brushwork is often easier because you just make a brush stroke and you've got it. If I start here and make my way out and cross over and make my way back, give this a bit of a point, and now this sepal is going to look like that. I'm going to show you how easy this can be to paint. I painted a little background before, and I'm not going to do any lifting. I'm going to start with a C and then continue the drawing as before. Now let's see what happens if I paint that. I'm going to use a 1/4-inch dagger. I have a bit of permanent alizarin here, yellow ochre, buff titanium. I'm turning this around to make it easier. See how I've exposed the bulbous corolla bit? Now I'm going to blend this out. Now on this side, I'm going to paint the inside of the corolla. That's the only part I can see inside here because I've put that other petal there. But what we have here is the form. Come under this petal here. And on this side, I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it. Now we're still on the cool side of things, so I'm going to put some cool color in there. And there's going to be a bit of shadow in the crease area down here. Just need a little bit, and then you need to blend it out. And now I'm keeping in mind the fold overs and just carefully painting in the shadows. And then on this side, whoops, way too much water on my brush there. Did you see that? And now, with a little bit of rose, I can gently, that back petal, a little bit of form, and even around there. Make that a bit darker and darker in there. And just keeping them alternating. A bit of shadow on this side because it's in the dark. And there. So it's all about getting a hang of these shapes, and you'll master them in no time. And if you want to master them super quick, come over to school where I have stacks of rose videos. We're going to put in, here's our little receptacle and the start of the stem. And now I'll do what I did before with the sepals, just by twisting and turning the brush a little, or you can start on the outside and come back in. There may even be one that turns in towards the flower and then out again. Like I said, join me. It's a great community that we have, and heaps of roses. And then on the shadows side, I can add a bit of darkness. There, you can do all that without a reference because it's just a simple process. And a little bit of shadow in there. If you'd like to brush up on your petals or leaves, see this playlist here, and there'll be heaps of stuff in there.